Yep.
We will call to order the special meeting, the December 6th special meeting of the Trinity County Board of Supervisors to order. We'll start off, since you're already standing up.
Supervisor, go ahead and lead us in the pledge of allegiance. All right. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We only have one item on the agenda today, so we'll jump right into it. Workshop forum, and it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of public here today, so I think we can keep it fairly relaxed. Let's start it out. Is Jerry on Zoom?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to start out with your presentation, and then we'll just work into it from there?
Sure. All right. Let me just. First, I'll just say thank you, each of the supervisors, for your flexibility and coming back for the workshop today. And I think with better tools, we'll be able to get this ironed out. Basically, the two things I had to show you are, and then we can dive into things. I can show you really quick the tool that we post to the redistricting website that allows for the simultaneous viewing and overlay viewing of the maps of interest that were identified last Monday. And then I can also show you there have been 2 more public submissions since then. So maybe I'll show you all the public submissions first, and then we can look at the tool, and then we can maybe get down to work. I was thinking that maybe we would pick one of the maps that we think is the closest, and then start with that as the template tool, and then make edits live in there, which I'll obviously do, so at your direction. So with that said, sharing my screen. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the map that was, there's a map that was submitted on Friday the 3rd, which was submitted by Kelly Sheen. Second map that he submitted, he noted when he submitted it that it was refinement of his previous entry, and he collaborated on this version with Supervisor Jill Cox and Darrow Forsland in anticipation for this special meeting being held today. And I can show it in more detail if you want, but kind of the standard way that at least this document that has all of the public comments, and that, as I showed last week, is available on the redistricting website. It just has a screenshot for the overall map, and then we can look at, I think it's fairly close some of the others that we're considering, which of course are Supervisor Frazier's, and we'll look at those in a second here, but Supervisor Frazier's submission from the 22nd, Kelly Sheen's submission from the 24th, and Darrow Forsland's from the 27th, and as well as our revised draft map E. But I think it's fairly similar to the 3 other public submissions of interest with we can look at it more closely, but I think one of the main differences is District 2 is shaped a little bit differently, and perhaps Supervisor Cox was, involved in developing that if Kelly was coordinating with her and Darrow, but we can come back around to that. And then this is what District 3 would look like in that case. I think a lot of the maps that we have of interest kind of have this general feature of District 3 sort of coming up and splitting Douglas City with District 1, and then kind of doing something sort of like this. I think they're all putting Hay Fork either mostly or entirely in District 3, and then District 3 stays out of Post Mountain, and that's getting split between 4 and 5. And I have the better map that we can look at things at street level, but I'm just trying to show this. This particular submission is not in that tool because it was one of the ones that was received after we created that tool and had a specific set of maps in it. So I think you all get the gist. We can come back around look at it more closely. Maybe it's even the one we want to use as a starting point. I don't know. We can decide that before we dive in. The other map that was received, which I believe was yesterday, was from John Hamilton of District 2. Yeah, yesterday the 5th. Looking at that, at least at the high level, this one's fairly different from other ones that have been submitted, but I'm just showing it because it was received. District 1 comes down a lot further. This is actually all District 3, so it looks like there weren't notes provided on kind of what the focus was, but it looks like one of the focuses was perhaps to keep Post Mountain Mall in District 5, and then District 4 kind of comes down to here. We can look at the other districts if you'd like. I can come back to this, but those are the additional 2 maps that have been submitted. I don't believe there's been any additional public comment or anything else that's come in since last week. Any questions on those 2 maps before I can show them in I can click on the share link and show either one of them more closely. It's possible that the one submitted by Kelly Sheen, we may even use that as a starting point if y'all want to, if you like compared to other ones that we have.
I would start with Kelly's as a base for our mapping today, if you like.
Okay.
Jerry, this is Keith. You had submitted a 12-1 map, which was, if you could bring that one up as something else to look at to start from.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me show you. Also, just want to show you all I wasn't trying to get ahead of myself there. We should choose which one we want to start with kind of after we look at this, but I was just throwing that out there that Kelly Sheen's map from 12.5 is not in this tool because this tool has the specific maps, so I was directed to put it in here. But I think we'll be able to make whatever work. But I don't know if y'all have had a chance to look at this tool. It was posted on 12.1, so that has just I think I called it the revised draft map viewer. And so the way that works is when you first load it up, it has, there's a lot of stuff going on and you can turn different things on and off, which I'll do that as we're talking because I kind of have some strategies for how it's easiest to see certain things. But when you first load it up, the default is that it shows this color fill, so like the yellow and the red and the gray and the green and the purple, all those fills as this comes up as default is the shading is based on the revised draft map E that I guess the flow is produced in coordination with the county. And then also the red lines correspond to that revised draft map E. And some of these you can't see, like the green lines, sometimes the colors kind of overlap each other so you can't see one all the way through, but we can toggle things on and off as we're kind of zooming in more closely. But it also shows, it has black lines for census designated places, and then it has, in addition to line for revised draft map E, it has a green line for Supervisor Frazier's November 22nd map, blue for Kelly Sheen's November 24th, and then purple for Darrell Fortsland's November 27th. And you can also, when you click on content, and there was a guide that was also posted along with this, but when you click on the content, that's where you can turn different things on and off. So I could choose to have I could turn the fill color off, which is nice when you're trying to look at specific roads and things so that the fill color doesn't obscure your view, even though it's somewhat transparent. But I could also turn on, say, I could have the fill be to correspond to Supervisor Frazier's November 22nd map. And I could, if I wanted to just compare, say, that to Kelly's map from the 24th, I could turn off all the kind of extraneous lines. And for me, that kind of helps when you're just comparing two things, is to have shading for one and the lines for the other, so you can really easily see the differences. But we can also have them all on. And I can play around with different things as we're talking. The other things that I just wanted to show you are the default base map is, what's called a base map is topographic, which you can kind of see some of the geographic features as well as roads. That's kind of a nice little basic default, but as the guide shows and as I know, you can change the base maps to look at different things. So I'm actually going to turn this fill off and just keep these 3 lines on, so the green, the purple, and the blue. And again, they're like if I turn this green off, you can see that in some places the green is coincident with the blue lines. It's hard to see it in this view, but the things that are on top here on the left show up on the top on the map. So I can kind of peel away the layers and make sure that I see everything for Darrow's map, Kelly's map, and Supervisor Frazier's. Something that is helpful is like these lines here, they don't, I can turn the census blocks on here, which are kind of thinner lines so that they don't overpower the lines we're focusing on, but all of the lines that have been drawn by any of the maps by default have to use the census block lines. So I know that these lines right here are, I know that there's this black line also goes underneath that's outlining a census block. Now that these lines clearly don't correspond to any like roads or rivers or streams, they correspond to like township section and range sort of thing, which I know a lot of the current supervisor districts are based off of, and it can be the case that a lot of them are based off of that this time because a lot of the census blocks we have to work with don't align with those, but it is the case that some of them do. So if I turn on, this is the US topo maps base map, and so that shows where you can see that these lines here do follow township section and range lines. And you can also see, I was looking at this last night, as you look up further, you know, kind of in the Trinity Alps here, I was trying to figure out, it looks like some of the census block lines actually follow the ridge line here of the mountains, which also seems to correspond to the intersection, or I guess the boundaries for the Big Bar Ranger District and the Weaverville Ranger District. So there's some, like the topo maps are, the topo base map is what I'll probably turn on and off if we're trying to look at mountain ridges or townships and range. If we're just trying to look at geographic features like rivers, lakes, streams, and creeks and things like that, I kind of like the USGS, US Geological Survey map here that seems to show those pretty well. And that does show some major roads in a very kind of artistic way, but if we're trying to look at all roads, there's 2 different maps, 2 different base maps I can use to look at, to kind of focus more on just roads. And one would be streets, which I think shows some things that National Geographic one doesn't show, but they're a little bit harder to see maybe. But if you zoom in, you can see names for all of them. And then there's also OpenStreetMap, sometimes shows streets that streets doesn't show. And the reason why I'm talking about all of that is because we have to use the census blocks as building blocks, and I don't have, the Census Bureau doesn't give like an almanac or anything that says exactly what the lines for each of them correspond to, so we kind of have to figure it out if we want to make sure that the census blocks we're using, you know, align with something that we can legally describe and that makes sense. So I just wanted to show you kind of all that functionality. And then feel free to interrupt me with questions, but I thought maybe next I could show you kind of in a broader view how the 4 maps here sort of relate to each other. And I can zoom in on any specific areas as well. I'm going to turn topographic back on so that the background, the base map doesn't look maybe as distracting. Turn off these census blocks. And here, I'm just going to show you the shading that maybe with the census doesn't in places turned on. So this would be Darrow's map from the 27th, which you can see has District 4 coming down into Post Mountain and splitting that with District 5, and I can zoom in however we want to look at specific things, but right now I'm just showing you kind of broader view because it's a little easier to see it here than some of the other things that I've showed you. And this also has the census designated, the CDP boundaries on here. So you can see Douglas City split between 3 and 1, Weaverville split between 2 and 1. And you can kind of see the shape of how 4 comes down into Post Mountain here. And then if I turn on, it's overlapping the same shades of color, but based on what is on top, it's kind of easier to see. So if I do that again, you can kind of see that Kelly's map from the 24th brings District 3 up a little bit farther north here, and I think that's kind of using some of those township section and range lines. It also has District 3 come up farther here, I guess, for the line between 1 and 3. It also has it has Weaverville split between 2 and 1, and then Post Mountain is also split between 4 and 5, but split slightly differently than Darrow's. And then if I turn on Supervisor Frazier's, you can see, I'll just kind of let you look at that as I sort of click that on and off, and hopefully you can kind of see the shapes. The 3 of these are not considerably different from each other in that they all have, actually this one from the 22nd for Supervisor Frazier, I think it has one block of Post Mountain and District 3, but otherwise it's split between the 5. And then you can see, zooming in on Weaverville, that he kind of had a wider shape for Weaverville than I guess the other ones there. And again, the revised draft map E looks like this. So that one actually has District 3 coming in and taking part of Post Mountain, and the line between 4 and 5 stays up here, which is obviously very different from those other 3. And then, as you all may recall, and I know that this isn't popular, so I highly doubt this will end up being the case in the final map, but this had District 4 coming in to grab this part of Weaverville right here, and then District 2 took all of Douglas City. So those are kind of what I got the sense last week that this was perhaps not the most popular map, but it seemed like maybe these 3 they're a lot more similar to each other, in that they all have 4 coming down into Post Mountain. And if I were to compare those two, I just want to show Kelly's map from Friday again. You can open this in the scenario modeler by clicking that share link to look at it more. I guess I might as well just do that. Let's wait for that to load. This doesn't show the outlines for the census designated places, but of course Hayfork is kind of in here, and that's all in District 3. Post Mountain is like right here, and it's split between 4 and 5. I think of particular note here that was different compared to Kelly's map from the 24th was the lines for District 2, which you can see it's just kind of a little bit wider. And I think in this case, I don't believe District 2 actually goes down into Douglas City split between 3 and 1. But you can see Riverville comes a little bit further west to some of these TSR line, the straight lines here, and Weaverville is split between 2 and 1. But otherwise, I think there's some other, I don't know if Kelly's there, if he's allowed to speak, but he could probably describe what other differences there are between this and his map from the 24th, which he said this built a map from the 24th, and then he collaborated with Supervisor Cox and Darrow Forsland.
Is there ability to highlight 299 and 3 on these?
Not on these ones. Not while we're in the scenario modeler, unfortunately, which is unfortunate. If we're looking at this web map thing, if I'm looking for particular roads, I like to just have lines on. So let's say, for example, I wanted to compare these two, and if I were looking for 299 and 3, I like the national the GS map. That does that actually doesn't show them as well. So I'm going to turn on. Let's try streets. This highlights a little bit better. But you can see in places where the lines that have been, the perspective lines that we have where they overlap 299 and 3, then obviously they kind of obscure it.
So, yeah, the issue is there, we can get our bearings
Yeah,
versus the other one.
yeah, this is hard to get your bearings. Unfortunately, and we're gonna have to toggle, we're gonna have to kind of switch back and forth between these. With this, you can, if you're zoomed in far enough, you can start to see roads and you can see, unfortunately, it just is what it is that on this one, they don't stand out quite as well. But my thought was that if we were looking at a particular area, we might, especially if we turn on the census blocks here, or if we're trying to pick apart like one of the maps that have been submitted, we can turn on lines for those and just kind of switch back and forth between. I was thinking we could work on trying to like make decisions here, and then I would make them here, but we might spend more of our time looking at the features. I just don't have there's only so much functionality in this particular tool, but this is the tool that allows us to reassign blocks. So we can make that work. So I think there's different ways we could go about this. We could perhaps try to choose a map that we like, maybe that we like the most as the starting point, and then use that, kind of go about editing that in this tool, and then we can kind of switch back and forth. And I apologize that that the last two publicly mapped submissions, they're not in this tool, but I think Kelly's one from the 3rd is fairly similar to his one from the 24th. Are there any questions that I can answer right now, or anything you'd like to see at this moment, or do you want me to try to guide us through picking one to start with?
Why don't we use Kelly's last submission to start with as a template?
We can't use this tool with that map, so we'll be stuck with just with this scenario modeler.
Yeah, whichever one we choose, we have to use this scenario modeler to actually change the blocks, but we can look at this map to see what we're working with better in a particular area, and I can just kind of switch back and forth between them. I was thinking
Is the one that's up is Kelly's last map?
That's the 24th map.
this is the map from the 24th, which is the one that I have.
Why don't we just start there then? If we can't use the other one.
We can use the other one, so we have to use this tool to change the map. So we could start with Kelly's map from the 3rd because I have it available in this tool. It's just not, but this map, think of this map, think of this screen as our ability to look at things more closely and get our bearings better, but we physically make the changes in this map. And so the physically make changes map, I have Kelly's map from Friday. If that makes sense. Use that as a starting point. I just don't have it. It's not loaded here because this has the specific set of maps that I was requested to add, which is just the 4. Before Kelly submitted his last one.
Just to interrupt a little bit, I thought maybe it would be worthwhile for Kelly to tell you the difference between the two. So that you
I'm totally
get an idea what that is. And then there's a gentleman here for public comment on the redistricting, and I thought maybe you might want to give him a chance because he doesn't know when he might have a chance to talk, so, but he's just in general, so.
We will definitely take public comment. And I guess, Mr. Dobo, if you would like to get up and speak first, and then we'll let Kelly jump into this and then go over the map. But yeah, go ahead and have your say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frazier, and thank you to the board for letting me talk to you for a minute. I'll introduce you, myself, to you. My name is Peter Dobo, and I'm the engine captain for Post Mountain 3531, as well as the president of the Post Mountain Public Utility District Board of Directors. So the board has been following recently what's been going on here and the different concepts. We met, and these are basically the conclusions that, as I understand it, we came to. Our first choice in terms of redistricting would be to actually have Post Mountain be its own district. And
Peter!
You're fine.
I understand that, I guess the two primary concerns with that are that, one, there would be 6 districts instead of 5, and that's an even vote for the board, although I must say that we've been operating for years now with 4 people on our board, and it never seems to be a problem, but I get that. And the other one, of course, is that you would have to pay another supervisor. So I assume that that's not an option. However, I do want to say that Post Mountain has made very significant strides in the last 2 years in terms of bringing the whole community together and functioning as much more as an organized unit. And our basic feeling is that being divided up would not be a benefit, specifically in terms of how the community perceives itself. We're trying to do this whole unity thing, and here we are getting split out into 2 or 3 districts. So our first choice would be just Post Mountain District. Our second choice would be 2 districts with, as I understand it, one being about 10% of our community, which would essentially be along the 36 corridor, and the other being the majority of the community. And unfortunately, Supervisor Dan, our third choice is to, as you proposed, get divided up into 3 different districts. And also, and I don't have a real clear concept of the lines and everything, but as I understood it, I guess is District 4, the 299 area, and then it comes down, is that basically right? Okay. If we ended up with 2 districts, 5 and 4, we're assuming that we would never see the supervisor from District 4. I know if I was the District 4 supervisor, you wouldn't see me, because to have to drive 2 hours each way is just, it's not realistic at all. So, you know, that really doesn't make sense to us, but I understand that that may end up being the way it is, but, you know, 3 districts makes no sense to us whatsoever. 1 is ideal, and 2, yeah, is probably the way it's going to work, but we'd like to be able to see our supervisor once in a while. And a different subject, and I would like to talk to you at some other point about this, but we have not seen any road maintenance crews from the county. I stop and chat with Buck and Turk once in a while, whether it's down here or if I happen to see them up there, but there has been 0 maintenance of the Post Mountain roads for 2 whole years now. So, you know, we sure wish you guys would pay a little attention to us, especially in light of the fact that we are putting into the county coffers. I know it has to be at least $1 million a year. If you figure 1,000 parcels, $1,000 a parcel, I think is probably an average. I know I'm paying.
Let's stay on redistricting right now.
Yeah,
This is a workshop.
Agreed. You know, a topic for another time. But yeah, I guess that's basically what I have to say.
All right.
Yeah. Any.
Well, stick around while we go through this piece by piece, and then your input will be welcome.
Okay, can you give me some concept of how long we're talking about?
No,
Okay.
I can't.
And then I'll pass on that. If you want to give me a call afterwards and we could discuss or whatever. Oh, and also I know that our road person, Zach Jacobowski, is on Zoom, and he has some comments about the specific lines, I believe. So,
Thank you.
okay, thank you very much.
I will comment back, state law says 5 supervisors.
Somebody had mentioned that, so I knew that that was, yeah, maybe, right. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, Kelly, do you want to kind of explain to us what the difference between your 24 and...
We do have other public comment if you want to do that first. I'm asking.
Yeah, we can have people jump in here, I guess, for public comment. It doesn't, we're kind of open right now, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then next on Zoom we have Zach Jacobowski.
Okay, yeah. We'll go ahead and run through the Zoom comments, I guess, and then just one. Okay.
Hello there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for your time. Basically, just to piggyback sort of off what Peter was going off of, we're mainly just interested, I understand that just based off of the population growth, splitting Post Mountain is going to be an inevitability based off of the other district sizes, you know? So I understand that us staying wholly within 5 is not as likely, but I do agree that trying to maintain it as closely as we can between 4 and 5 would be ideal. Just based off of just trying to maintain, as on the PUD, trying to get anything done, sometimes we have to work with these supervisors, and I agree that you're all busy people and we don't want to take up any more of anyone's time than we already do. And the main question I just had, if you could check on the map, just where the delineations would be. I think it was from map E to where District 4 came into Post Mountain, just north of the 36th side. Just interested if we can just get a better grasp of where those boundary lines might be. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, no, we don't have any more public comment on Zoom.
I have no other public comment, thank you.
Okay, well, go ahead, Kelly. And
thank you, Supervisor Frazier and the rest of the board. My name is Kelly Sheen. I'm the district manager for the Trinity County Resource Conservation District and did work on the 2010 redistricting. To just start with the comments regarding Post Mountain specifically, the most recent version that I submitted, which was Friday evening, takes into account as little disturbance, I think, to the Post Mountain community as possible. If we were able to pull that up, Jeremy, that would be great. the line basically is on the West Ridge, I believe is the name of the West Ridge is kind of like the primary dividing line, and then down to Rattlesnake Creek. And so everything in that kind of northwestern portion is basically, yeah, that's this area right there, that basically sort of separates out. And to the best of my knowledge, it's approximately 700 people in population that are broken from the rest. The entire remaining piece of Post Mountain is in 5 in my particular option.
Do you have any idea how many parcels that actually is?
I didn't look at the number of parcels, but I would guess based on like, it's roughly 20% of the population of Post Mountain, based on the numbers that we were working off of. So, you know, I'd say it's probably a couple hundred parcels, roughly. But I didn't look at that specifically. And so, and my thinking, or the thinking that we sort of were sharing was that with 4 having to come down to grab like Hyam Palm, it's already sort of like in that South Fork like corridor, and as you can see, by and large there, I did sort of take a little bit off of the western portion of this near to the CDP for Hayfork, to pull some of like, I guess it's Indian Valley area in, and again using like major forest highways and stuff to break that as a dividing line. It made it a little bit, I guess, cleaner in my estimation. And like I said, it minimizes that disturbance, I guess, to the Post Mountain community. My final version that I submitted also does pull in, it includes a lot of Supervisor Frazier's concerns with regard to Ruth specifically and the Mad River communities. So, but it, you know, I did sort of bring in, because it was already sort of dividing the Forest Glen area, I just used what is essentially the Hyam Palm CSD boundary to take in the bulk of Forest Glen into 4 also, again, because it's all sort of in that South Fork Trinity River watershed as it sort of delineates down at the bottom. One of the things that we talked about was on Friday with Darrow and Jill was potentially just using the Highway 36 divider or as a dividing line between north and south. But I felt like that was more disruptive to the Forest Glen community, which isn't excessive. But again, my versions have considered things like special district boundaries and things of that nature, which is why they're not the natural boundaries that you normally would see, and that's more to facilitate the coming process, which is going to be cleaning all this stuff up and creating solid precincts that have to do with voter blocks and whether or not they're, you know, considered within a special district or outside of a special district. But again, I felt like this balanced out pretty clearly. So in the upper right corner of that you can see is basically Rattlesnake Creek Road as the dividing line on kind of the south end, and then that West Ridge Road as it's going down through there, yeah, as that dividing line for Post Mountain. And that's kind of, I guess, was there anything?
Can you mention that stair step that we see on there is the special district PUD hospital and ambulance, just as an example?
So Darrow also is pointing out that stair stepping that we were seeing on the west side of 4, as well as generally being part of the watershed division, Yep, right there. That is also, it's High Pond CSD. It's basically also the boundary for the hospital, I guess probably the Trinity Life Support, and
The PUD.
PUD as well. So it's to me is a good place because through the stair step is basically South Fork Mountain Road, and it doesn't break up any of the blocks that would have any population along the ridge top anyways. So again, using existing boundaries, it will just keep things a little bit cleaner for whether or not there's this level of certainty that whether you're in this special district or this school district, et cetera, et cetera. Shall I go on to speak more to the some of the other changes around 2?
Please.
Okay.
Can I just point out really quick that the things that I'm switching back and forth between are the more detailed viewer that allows us to get our bearings better, that's showing Kelly's map from the 24th, and then also show his map from Friday the 3rd, which is only viewable in here. It's just a little bit harder to see some of the things to help us get our bearings. So that's why there's some differences between the 2 that I'm showing. But I'm trying to show both of them as Kelly's talking. So thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Jerry.
Were your questions answered?
Pardon me?
Were your questions answered there?
The mapping is a little confusing to me. I don't know that I had questions as such more than, just wanting the board to know what the general feeling of the post-mountain board was. I guess one thing I'm thinking, Kelly, you were saying you were concerned about dividing up Forest Glen.
Yeah.
How many people live in Forest Glen?
It's
Maybe
probably
20?
20 people.
Okay.
But again,
3,000 people in Post Mountain. I would think that you would be, more concerned about that.
No, I am. I was just, again, I was just sort of pointing out the difference between my 2 versions, which take in a little bit more of that southern point down there. That you can see there's several converging lines that sort of go across above that larger block at the bottom that basically represent both a gas utility line and essentially the 36 corridor.
Yeah, that's the lines right on 36.
Right. So I was just basically kind of trying to take in, again, sort of, it's less of a concern because of the numbers don't really affect things too much. It's just a matter of, contiguity of, a special district boundary that's kind of important to, several of the major districts, special districts in the county. So again, it didn't really affect all the blocks that you see that are part of, and I looked at these fairly closely with the basic road layout of Post Mountain just in general, and the number of 5 is already sort of getting kind of, there was 2 blocks in particular in this just to the left and just below where his hand is, a little bit further south, those 2 that are on the 4 side, in District 4, those below that, they're kind of that one, and then the one next to it. They basically represent a fairly significant number in population, and I felt like that if we tried to pull more into the contiguity of 5 for that purpose, it would start to really throw off where the overall population for 4 and 5 would sit. As it is now, they're fairly balanced, plus or minus 5, within that plus or minus 5% variation, but it didn't address the overall. To me, that dividing line of having the Rattlesnake Creek Road and that West Side Road made more sense to me, I guess.
I think that probably Zach could talk about this certainly better than me. My understanding was that if it was on the 36 corridor as opposed to being the Rattlesnake, Westridge corridor, that it would only be about 10% of the population that's cut out with that. Would be a 10%, 90%, but maybe I'm not.
No, because we're farther north than that as it is. Yeah. So like I said, at that one block at the very bottom left corner there, I did pull into 5 because of, Rattlesnake Creek is a road, is a major county road. And just makes, I mean, not the lower portion, not the lower portion of it,
I'm sorry.
but anyways, I mean, to me, that seemed like a good dividing line. It was easily utilized for, the purposes of creating a legal description.
Yeah, if that's what one of the major county roads looks like, I'd hate to see what the secondary county roads look like.
Understood.
As
So,
Fraser pointed out, that's a different topic.
Understood.
Thank you very much for that.
Right. Like I said, I try to minimize it and taking into consideration some of the other sort of larger issues which had to do with balancing out the general populations.
Right.
Because, like I said, if you were to take 700 people, in those blocks that are kind of there in the upper left-hand corner there, to 5, there would need to be some significant balancing that would need to be done elsewhere.
All right, so Jerry, do you want to run us up to District 2, and we'll check that out on these maps also?
Yes.
Thanks for the comments.
Yeah.
Thank you, board.
Thank you for coming down.
You bet.
We're up, wherever we're at. Over.
I'll probably just, for the sake of clarity too, when Darrow and Jill and I met on Friday, what we came up with as an alternative that was submitted that evening, they supersede both of our other alternatives. Like, we would prefer to see the version that was submitted on Friday considered over either the one that he had submitted previously or the one that I had submitted previously.
So this is kind of already a compilation of 24 and 27?
Correct. Okay. Yep. With some other sort of minor changes, and in particular, this area here, which we included more of the, 299, westbound corridor and everything that's just south of that, which is basically the Organ Mountain community, by and large on the east side of the ridge, to bring that sort of, that community, which, is essentially Oregon Street, into District 2. Where we did also pick up some population for District 1 was what is currently already existing in District 1, which is basically the 10-cent gulch. If you zoom down into that little leg there in the upper, that area there, Jerry.
Yep.
Below that, where it connects, you're right there. Below that, just right in that area right there.
The airport.
Yep, by the airport.
Gotcha. Thank you.
There's 2 little blocks in there that equivalent to about 60 voters, I believe, is what I recall. And in my previous version, they were sloppily, still included in, I guess technically they were in 4 for some reason. I don't know why, but we pulled those into 1 since, by and large, as we're getting up, and also the sliver across the road, across the highway from, yeah, that one, had some population also that we moved into 1, for the sake of, it's like as you're headed north out of town. It doesn't obviously take into account Brooks Lane and the other chunk of that larger block, which is 560.
It's a very big block.
Yeah.
They can't be split.
That's right. So, so we brought up, those pieces into one.
So, I don't know, if you're gonna take the two western ones from the hospital, Jerry, go back to that where you were at, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have the airport, we have the two western link ones, which was what I saw going into District 1. I mean, if we're talking 11 voters, why are we?
11 voters?
Well, you said 11 voters by the airport.
No, there was that sliver there, and then the other two that were for Trinity, those two little ones right there, which I think in total was almost 100 people.
All right.
Which you need, apparently.
I mean, this is also, we were also, flexing a lot, because obviously, District 1 still shows it, below the mark by about 3.9%.
So how many?
But those two blocks in the northern portion of Weaverville, those larger two,
Right.
it's just below and to the left of where he's got his thing, his cursor, right, yeah, those two. That's well over 600 people. And, to me, that's far more disruptive to the community of Weaverville to try and pull those into one than it would be.
And pulling Douglas City?
Than pulling about 100 people, 150 people maybe in from Douglas City area.
Well, I will go down to Douglas City and take a look there.
Yeah, that's my suggestion was gonna be, let's look at Douglas City area.
As it stands, technically based on the CDP boundaries, which I know might be different from how Douglas City is understood, but the CDP boundary has 424 in District 1 and 441 in District 3. But I know last week we talked about how the CDP boundaries don't seem to relate, they don't seem to match exactly to how people understand Douglas City.
Yeah, but that's the area right there. So if you look at that stair step there, that is in my best estimation, that's a school district boundary. And everything to the west of the vertical line there is basically Steel Bridge and Union Hill area, and everything kind of to the south of the stair step below that is like Fitsham Grade, just to put that one there, yep. And the stretch along the river before you start going up Fitsham Grade. So I mean, clearly those areas are, identify with Douglas City, but there's, again, of those blocks, I think I calculated out that there's approximately, there's about 150 people in just that area. Everything that's north of the stair step is technically, identifies as being Lewiston.
Chair,
Yeah.
if I might jump in, Margaret Long here, County Council. I just want to make sure that we are creating a clear record, under the laws related to the redistricting process. We do have to have these hearings recorded, and we do have to have minutes, and we do have to have them clear. So I just want to make sure we're not doing too much back and forth. I appreciate if the chair wants to increase the amount of public comment and extend it as much as you would like, but I just want to make sure we're not doing too much dialogue back and forth because we can't create a record off of that.
Okay, well, at our last meeting, the intention of this meeting was to be a workshop, so we could actually have that dialogue back and forth, so we could try to address some of people's concerns. And that's kind of how I've been operating this morning, is in a workshop format.
And it's again, Chair, it's your pleasure how you want to do it. We'll just have to, I'll have a conversation with Emma about how we're going to document it. We'll make it happen.
Okay, and it is being recorded. So, and the other question I would have, legally wise, is do we actually have to have that record for our workshop pertaining to this, because it's not one of our required meetings?
We do. So anytime we are holding a meeting where the public's invited related to redistricting, we do have to create a detailed minutes and detailed information about what occurred, and it has to be retained for 10 years on our website. So I'll work with Emma to get that done. Again, I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that as you run your meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I was mistaken. Actually, in that area, it is closer to 200 in population.
Okay, so Supervisor Groves, I would like to have your take on this. We're talking, well, you and Supervisor Cox, we're talking about your districts, and I would like to know how if you think that there's a better way to divide that up.
Well, I've publicly stated before that I think the Lewiston and the North Lake has a more closer tie to Weirville than it does to Douglas City, and I would guess that Douglas City has a greater tie to Weirville. So the one, the question is, do we break Douglas City up or do we break Weirville up? So the Kelly's map with the Weirville help decided to break up Douglas City, and quite frankly, I could live with it. It doesn't make as much sense to me, but it's fine. There's going to be big disruptions, but at this point, I'm actually more interested in what Liam has to say because it's his town that's been busted up.
So I would like to, I think you picked up, what'd you say, 100 on those little slivers up there by the airport?
Yes.
Somewhere in there.
That's what my recollection was, yeah.
And where the map is based now, you got the block kind of where his hand is now, maybe north of that going up towards Bucktail. If I could have my wishes, I would like to take into consideration having a line being drawn at Old Ohio Hill and coming my way, we'll say south, southwest, and including that in the Douglas City area. I don't know what the population blocks are there. So it'd be Poker Bar, Steel Bridge. And I guess if I would have to give up some of that block there, we'll use the highway as a divider, giving up top of the grade Vitson, I would give that. I could do away with that part of it if it helps keep the numbers in good shape. So I do think that Poker Bar, Steel Bridge, the Red Barn across the road from the Red Barn certainly associates with Douglas City a lot more than top of the grade, could kind of either way it, but anybody you ask that lives in Poker Bar in Douglas City or Steel Bridge, they live in Douglas City.
Yeah.
And his kids probably go to school there also.
I guess what I would recommend though is if you're going to be losing that many people from one for the sake of holding on to Douglas City as a whole, we would need to move at least one of those larger blocks at the top of Weaverville into District 1.
Then I have to ask Jill.
That one on the eastern side.
Just really quickly, or maybe not so quickly, knowing how things go. Jerry, could you go ahead and bring up this is Supervisor Frazier, my map from the 22nd, and we'll look at how differently I divided up these areas, and maybe we can compare and contrast.
Yes, sir. Or actually, this is yours from the 20.
The 22nd, yeah.
Yes. So you had, let's see. I think you went even further. Bear with me here. trying to figure out which base map is easiest for us to see some of the features.
And then just for the sake of argument, could you put the CDP overlay on that also? I would like to see how I divided up Douglas City.
So you had, and maybe it helps to turn the shading on for a little bit at least, but looks like you had and I'm also going to turn on the census blocks. I'm not sure which waterway this is right here, but I think you used, Browns Creek, looks like, for, I'm just going to zoom further out actually. So there's Steel Bridge Road there. I'm not sure exactly how this matches up with what Liam was describing, so I would need a little bit of help there. But I think, and these were the line. This was the line for Kelly's map from the 24th, and I'm not sure if that. I think he made some changes that I don't have in. So I don't have the lines from the 3rd, but this is how you had it divided.
Jerry, would you turn the census blocks on?
Yes.
Thank you.
This one removes BRK and everything south from, I mean, to me, this is actually a much more disruptive division of Douglas City.
Absolutely, I would agree. It takes all of Douglas City out of Douglas City.
I added all of Douglas City to Weaverville. That way I've tried to keep Douglas City together, but put it in the same district as Weaverville rather than in the same district as Hayford. And that was my intention, and I don't know that much about this area, but that was just, and those division lines where
Right.
I tried to use geographic features of highways and creeks to leave part of it in District 3, so.
So as I would, I guess, say to Jill, and Jill would probably say to me, that I don't think Deer Lake Springs really relates to Weaverville.
No, I think
Exactly.
Deer Lake Springs is left in District 3.
Not according to that link right there.
It's not. No, there's BRK.
That right there where his pointer is, well, that's BRK over there, and then to the east, those two little nubs in the CDP,
Yeah.
that's
You're looking right here is BRK.
Blanchard Flat, and
So you lose, I mean, you really, that doesn't cut it at all, really, honestly, for the.
For kicks, could you try taking a couple of those census blocks, Jerry, that Liam is talking about, of being fully inclusive of Douglas City and whatever, again, I get a little confused as to what's what, if that includes
Yes.
BRK or what that is. And you said that if you did that, you'd have to give up one of those northern chunks of Weaverville and stick it back in District 1. Could we try that scenario?
So the ones
You're gonna have to go back to the
ones I would be talking about, Jerry, would be on the left-hand side of 299 going towards Reading, and it would encompass Poker Bar Road down to Douglas City, and nothing on the right-hand side of the road, as in Bitsum grade, top of the Bitsum.
Jerry?
This is 299 right here, right?
Yeah, so basically that stair step that's on the, if you just pick up all the District 1 stuff that's in this, is to the,
Stair step.
And make that,
and just make all of that part of 3. Yeah.
okay,
That pretty much encompasses all of what Liam's talking about.
okay, thank you.
And then all of that.
Okay, then, can we look at that at street level then, once you get that in there?
Yes, sir.
We're gonna have to look at that.
That little point basically is sort of a weird dividing line, but
I think I missed a couple, but I'll clean those up after I get dispatch.
Yeah. The only thing that it doesn't take into account though, Liam, is Ohio Hill. That's still
That's
part of
fine.
one in that particular.
I think that's a good dividing line though, don't you? Old Ohio Hill?
Yeah, I mean,
It's gotta
I
be
don't know, people consider, you know better than I do, but Ohio Hill, I was always under the impression they associate with Lewiston, but I mean, the line for Old Lewiston Road is, I think, one of the dividers for the blocks, so we could certainly,
Right.
you could certainly pull that in.
And I don't want Old Ohio Hill, or actually the crossover from Poker Bar to Old Ohio Hill. I would use Poker Bar as my,
Yeah, and so that, what we just did actually does that.
okay, yeah, that would be a good delineation point. I think if you live in Ohio Hill, you're Lewiston, you live in Poker Bar, you're Devil City.
Yeah.
And then if you live in between that crossover road, I don't even think anybody lives in there, do they?
No, there's no parcels that I'm aware of off of the old highway grade.
Okay. So, on
So this is,
on this map here, just looking at this block that says Bitson Gulch Road on it, and I can't see what else it says there, but that would be something that if we needed to gain something in, and I'm just saying my wishes, something in one.
There you can see Steel Bridge.
All the way through Steel Bridge.
Let me see.
That's one big block.
So Poker Bar is actually further north.
Yeah, Poker Bar in this scenario would
higher.
stick, it'd be in one, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, you're right.
Which makes sense.
Poker Bar is kind of one of the places that's by itself.
Yeah, Poker Bar, they consider themselves
It's a big
Poker
poker
Bar.
bar.
Yeah, that's where that big bend in the river is.
And it would include, then I would include Steel Bridge on towards the store then in that one?
Steel Bridge and everything down in this is included in 3 based on what he's doing now, yeah.
And,
yep, all of this.
That's that big straight stretch right there you can see on the highway.
Okay.
That right there is that's the top of Bitsum. So it actually includes the top of the grade and Poker Bar in one currently as you're looking at it.
and then Bitsum, this includes Bitsum also,
It
correct?
does, yeah. The top of the grade is right there about that sort of dividing line that you see.
Yeah, top of the grade's over there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Where his cursor is now?
No, it's right there where his
Yeah,
cursor is right there.
exactly, gotcha.
That's all.
Oh, top of the grade.
Yeah, that's on top of the grade.
So that line going straight across is the delineation line?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Right, Jerry,
That seems to be livable, I guess. I
we
mean,
need to jump back and look at the population.
Yeah,
and
let's see what it does to Keith and me and Jill.
Let's see, so now we're 226 from District 3 and District 1's under about 360. So I think if we make, if we move the block that we've been talking about in Weaverville, I think that'll get us close. That, let's see.
So that stair step again is what?
School manager?
I think it's a school district boundary.
Okay.
Mhm. And
I think it
so
also,
there probably are associated special districts that are probably in that.
Tied to the same boundary.
Yeah.
I think from a standpoint of being able to describe it legally as well, it looks like it, and Lee probably knows much better than me, but I think it might also align with township range and section boundaries that we can use for legal descriptions, because I think referencing another district, we don't want to do because that could change in the future.
No, but a lot of the you're correct. A lot of the special district boundaries use those.
Or based on,
Yeah, they're based on township range sections.
yeah, so, so going back to this, if we move, so I think it's this block that we're talking about moving from 2 to,
Correct.
okay. 3 would probably end up still needing to give up population somewhere, but this would get us closer. I think this whole thing is quite iterative, obviously.
That's one voting block, that's a
That's
Westwood.
one voting block with
Yeah,
300 and some odd people in it.
And then the one next to it's 500 or something.
And it's,
That makes it difficult.
This one's 303, this one's 566. These ones that are already in one, there's kind of some little things mixed in, but they all add up to like a few hundred, I think.
So
That's
adding
all
back
these
in those slivers to,
Can you go down to the street view?
Well, you just gotta add that one back into one before it moves too much.
We could also, there's also some, yeah, there's some weird little
Push the
blocks here that have, you know, population of 41, 12, 14, 44, just south of the hospital there. But then this big one is 326.
yeah, that's not good. I don't think it's good. So, I guess the question, and I think Kelly,
And this,
those three slivers,
Mhm.
could we get those back into,
You can throw them all in District 1.
They're in one
into
now.
District 1 and give them some 100 odd more?
Well, those are, they're in the calculation as it sits.
I don't know, that's going down into 2 into 1 into 2 all the way down to where it just does not.
We don't have any good options for the most part.
Well,
I mean, the other possibility.
blank that one out and go to the two
The two to the left.
to the
west.
east, or west, excuse me.
Yeah. Those blocks currently are sitting in 4, but.
Yeah, so they don't have a disruption of they're not in the Weirville district anyway.
Yeah, and so, you know, that would certainly be an option too, because the way that shows also, again, school district boundary off to the western portion, sitting within 1, that would be, yeah, those two right there. There's not much in the 1, I think, right? There's a lot in 3.
yes, this is 0.
You might as well take them all because it's.
Yeah.
303. Okay.
Yeah, because it basically follows along Highway 299, so it just continues from downtown up.
So,
Jerry, what's the street view on that block there with the 303? Yeah.
That's,
East
This is,
Route.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's another one of those weird dividing lines, because it's basically,
Can't get there from here.
you know, Barbara Street.
Barbara, then it turns to
Clark
part of
Gulch
like
and
West
then-
River
Yeah, exactly.
and Sydney Gulch here.
That's all current District 5.
Moving
It's
those.
all current
Yeah,
District
it's-
4.
That's 4.
Yeah.
That makes more sense to move 4 to 1. That seems like a wise choice.
That makes more sense, yeah, and I agree with you.
Yeah,
yeah, that's way
Because they're
more.
already disenfranchised.
exactly.
So how does that
We'll try
skew,
to bring them in.
does that skew the numbers too much, or we?
No, that should be
That
right
seems
there.
like it's
looking
right
all
on.
So let's look at Jill, let's look at Keith, looking at 1, 2, and 3, just see if we're all happy with that. So we'll go to number 1. And see where Keith is at, make sure.
Yeah, that would be District 1, because it's not, remember, this is not about us, this is about,
Well, yes, District 1.
there you go, thank you.
District that Keith is now supervisor of.
Oh, well, I'll try. And that way the hospital's District 2 is cheap.
So that gets District 1 pretty close. You could probably end up staying around there as long as I think we should really strive to stay under 10% for total deviation. So as long as
District 3
Whichever.
will lose some.
Is there a couple that we can go down
Not contiguous.
between 2 and 3 and flip that around, just
Is that even
not all the way
contiguous
down to
with
Douglas
District
City,
1?
but down?
It is, yeah, it
let's
goes
try
right
it.
over the top of it and then all the way.
Thanks for bearing with the speed of this.
The band of,
That's faster than I've ever
Fire
made
That's
it.
a lot closer to what I.
is it?
Yeah.
Either my internet is at peak performance today, otherwise,
Yeah.
So that one point I have some.
There's not much down there, but it balances it out.
And if that doesn't work, we could
That
also
where
take
his-
some out of
his-
3 and put it in 4. If we can find a little bit of population.
There's a block just where his, so go a little bit further to your right, or left, my mistake. To your left, like,
Other way.
so there's that, I don't know that there's anything,
Oh, this one's 38.
so that area right there is largely towards the end of Steiner Flat Road and Tucker Hill Road.
So would it be easier, Kelly, to pull something off the western edge of me since I'm plus and 4 is minus, I think it said there?
District 2 is more minus than you are, but that would be an option to take some out and
Yeah, that's what,
give some to District 4.
yeah, so if we go to the Heim Palm kind of side of District 3 or the fairgrounds area, that area there. And we look to balance out 3.
One way that you could do it is the one block that's in Post Mountain. I know what you're referring to, but to me, that area there is much more contiguously Hayfork. So if you go south, Jerry,
Junction. Jump down to Post Mountain and.
there's a block that,
Is there?
let's see.
I think that
The one I'm thinking of is in the lower left corner of, like, basically a little bit further to your left, on the far side of Post Mountain. There's already some of Post Mountain in
You'd have to
there.
give that to District 5 and not District 3 though. District 3 doesn't come into Post Mountain.
I can't see what the numbers are on.
Our immediate problem is we have to get some more in District 2, and that will drain out of District 3.
We can give it to
But you
District
can
4.
give it 4 and
But
it
that
will
still
still
doesn't-
balance the
But I
deviation.
think-
It still doesn't help you.
But it balances the deviation, which is the goal.
If District 2 has enough
So let's
people for
work
the
on
whole
that
single
one.
why do you
Do you
need
see, I would get that
So
3,
you
4 a little
stay
tighter, Kelly, put a couple blocks in there.
I was just referring to right there in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, there's
Okay.
those 2 blocks there. That, I don't know how much those total up, those 2 right there.
Oh, those
Just
two,
the highway.
these two are,
If you were to give those to 4,
So it's 100 there. right?
but so is 3 now at +7, is that what I'm seeing?
yeah, plus 7%.
So I can drop that.
Right, I get your point. Yeah, I mean,
Giving District
2%, you need to move something like 40 or 50 people.
Yep.
Do you need to stay on top of that straight line because that helps when you?
The straight line
your-
right there, you mean?
Well,
In that screen, we don't, because that's the PUD. I mean, that's a power line based, or not,
Gas
like a gas pipeline, it's a utility line.
It's
which-
actually Highway 36 part of the way also.
Part of it, yeah. Okay, sorry, I can't quite make out the numbers from here.
So let me tell you, so
I guess
this,
part of what I was thinking was that if you were trying to pull some out of 3 to give to 2, some of those areas, there's one particular block that I think is by and large the Democrat Gulch area. So, I'm sorry, Jerry, if you go back up to the south boundary of 2.
Rocky Point.
yep, okay.
That's a huge chunk of
There was a block that was around 30 or 40 people that we were talking about before we moved down to Post Mountain area, which would,
Again, the 2 main pieces, the largest 2 in that upper corner of that weird stair step there. So the ones I'm thinking of, those 2 where your cursor was just sitting. Those, the next one over, to the right.
oh yes, and this is, I'll just read the numbers also. This is a population of 7, 38.
That one.
Okay.
What's
that's
that one?
This is 8, 0, 13.
Well, 13, so that's the spot that makes more sense to tie in with the,
You'd want to go down 299 is what you'd want to do.
right, so you would take up those two
Which is also
pieces.
Weaver Creek right there.
Although there's 0 in it, you would follow the 299 corridor, and then the other dividing line at that point is Tucker Hill Road, which is the, I guess what you'd say the eastern boundary of those 2 blocks.
Let me just look at them in this map if you'll humor me. So we're,
You're there.
It doesn't gain you a lot,
this area right
Here
here.
against 38 people.
So this one's about, this is the one that's, I think, 13, this that's like 38.
50 total, 50-something total.
Which is a
At
start.
the 38, the problem with that is that it's
Steiner Flat.
yeah, it's around Douglas City, so you have to drive through one district to get back to your district.
Mhm.
So coming down the 290 corridor, it makes more sense to come down that corridor more. And at this point, even 13 or 20 helps
Yeah.
balance
So-
things out.
So yeah, if you picked up those 2 blocks that are in that sort of upper corner there, between 299, that one, and that one.
These ones.
Yep.
And that, it looks like there's a tiny sliver one right there too.
This silver one is between the creek and the highway.
Which,
Didn't we look?
Okay.
Got 5.
that's got 5.
So you could,
Would we pick up this sliver also or not pick up
Sure.
this sliver?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that way you're using the highways.
the highway is the divider.
So, let's-
Okay, that would use the highway as the divider. Yeah.
Mhm.
Should I do it?
Go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting us to where we want to go.
I mean, the other possibility too would be to pick up Little Browns Creek for Weaverville, out of 1.
One.
Y'all like look at that before I
One down 50.
try this, or should I go ahead and try this?
So one's,
But I mean, it doesn't help 3. It doesn't help 3.
It doesn't,
coming down.
yeah, that's true, yeah.
so
Drink.
I think we still need to go, I guess, Kelly, to the high and palm end of 3 to try to help 4.
We could-
A,
There's definitely some population blocks along that side that you
Just to
could,
get, we get that deviation out of there, get this thing closer to total 10% up top there.
yeah. This is probably a less, a
I mean, I don't-
significant change, I would think, than doing what you're recommending, which is like further down High and Palm Road, but still like technically part of,
I mean, I'm okay with that right there, but
Yeah.
does that get us to where we need to be and not have to,
not, I would say not quite, but go ahead and do it, Jerry.
are you okay with that?
it got us closer.
It got us down to 10.4.
Sorry?
I mean, technically, if we balance things in a way that, because what we have to add together to get the total deviation is the number that we're over for the one that's most populated, and then add that to the number that we're under for the one that's least populated. So right now, we're at 10.4. Technically, if we balance things out so that, say, for example, so that 4 and 2 both gave up, well, we just gave 2 some, we could give it some more, but,
So if you did give some of 3 to 4, it would be beneficial.
if we gave some of 3 to 4, then that would get us closer. Like a rule of thumb that I use when I'm trying to do this is, when I've been doing it, trying to use since y'all kind of, I think, want to be able to use the full allowance of the 10%, is I would try to get this to 5% or lower, and then just make sure that none of them are under by more than 5%, and then we're probably good. So if we did move some from 3 to 4, then we'd be probably like another, 30 people, so then I think we'd be close.
What do you like there, Kelly?
So yeah, I would say let's try and pull some out of, like Liam was saying, if we go down to the northwestern portion of the Hayfork CDP,
And that probably wouldn't really be as big of a
changes, because they're gonna lose, they're changing districts anyway.
That's right.
Because the people on that side of Hayfork Creek are all in District 5 right now, and they're not going to stay there.
That's correct. Yep.
Sorry, I'm just making sure I. So I wanted to go, are we going over towards
Hayfork, Hayfork, Hindham.
Hayfork, okay, gotcha.
Yep. There
So
might
cool.
be just enough in there.
That's a strange looking little thing.
So what are you looking for in there, 30, 40?
Yeah,
So yeah, you're getting close.
I think
Brushes.
we were, let's see.
So what you're seeing there has mostly to do with some of the fairly significant forest highways.
I guess we want about 48 to 50 people probably.
So I would just start, no, need to go further south even, and a little more to the west.
Parker Mountain.
South into the west, yeah.
Thank you.
So that's Hyam Palm Road basically, and I think that if you start picking up some of those pieces there that are in 3, you'll start getting close to what the number you're looking for.
Let me just show us, and this is our detailed map.
If you take it down to the CDP boundary, that would help, but the only difference is, the only real problem that you get into at that point is that it's using like a skid road along a ridge as the divider.
And this shows where that boundary is for the CDP for April.
There's also another piece, I guess. There's a block of 20, there's actually a block of 20 voters that's, if you go further south, it's closer to, to Post Mountain, actually, where you could pick up some of that stuff that's way at the top of Tule Creek. It's that one just to the left of your cursor. A little bit further left. Next one over, that one.
This has 20.
Right, yeah.
And then you might as well gather up.
So, and then you might as well gather up everything on that side, yeah.
Get you there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, not that one, but the one to the left of it, and then everything sort of around the way on that western edge of 3. There's some like other little blocks in there that have folks in there, but
Yeah,
I know that there's like Friend Mountains up in there. I know there's, you know, it's Indian Creek, and Indian Valley. Yeah.
Yeah, this, if we grab this one also, then we would have, I think, 32.
It'd be pretty close.
Yep.
Livable.
So I'll grab, this one since it has 9.
There's a weird little one in there. Yeah.
These shapes that we have to work with, I'll tell you.
Sometimes there's 0, and then Weirdo has this big monstrous one that wanders around.
Yeah.
Right.
I wish that I had more control over the shapes that we have to use.
Who do we talk to?
This set right here.
Because this is retarded.
That is a road that, I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably leave everything north of there, which might be better than the alternative. Just because a lot of that stuff up above is like Drinkwater Gulch, and it's just outside of probably the Hayfork CDP.
Let's see, let's look at that. Just want to make sure we. Oops, I'm not in the right area.
I think the ones that you have grabbed there, Jerry, are gonna be almost enough.
Good enough, yeah.
Okay, should I go ahead and move these?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it. We'll send everything you got.
You didn't, that was Jeremy.
That was me.
Where's Jeremy?
Yeah, is Jeremy here?
No, he's not.
Oh, let's just mess with this as much as possible. Let's, whatever we need, just screw Jeremy.
So technically, right now, we are actually under 10%.
Okay. Jill, were you good with yours? Keith?
Close enough.
Yeah.
I have some questions before.
I'm
we go.
very happy to have all new constituents in my
again.
district.
District 1, are you okay?
District 1 is fine. And
District,
Jerry.
over the supervisor, District 2?
Jerry has questions, so let's,
Jerry?
yeah.
Let's retire this here.
All right, Jerry, go ahead.
If you'll humor me, first, I just want to check the CDPs that this says are split and make sure that we want them to be split. Know that Douglas City is intentional, and the way that we have it split right now, the population splits would be majority is in District 3, which is 658, and then second highest amount would be 189 in District 1, and then 23 in District 2. But I think we put a lot of thought, I think y'all put a lot of thought into where you wanted those boundaries to be, but I just want to make sure you are aware of how that's split population-wise. It's always good to zoom out and look at all these things. Hayfork, it looks like there's one block that is probably one block that's still in District 5, so we might want to come back and look at that and move that to.
That might be one that didn't get switched over somewhere either,
That's right.
because there's nowhere.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's just a hider.
So maybe if we fix that really quick and then see if there's any other hiders. I think there's possibly one in Junction B as well. So I can find it by filtering on just District 5. So,
One little sliver,
yeah,
Kingsbury Gulch or something.
so I presume
800 people.
to District 3.
That's, we found a couple odd ones over, just,
Yeah,
was it 30 in the fairgrounds or something?
Yeah, there was 20 that's in that one block inside the
Yeah, I
fairgrounds
know.
somehow.
I don't know what that was, yeah, that was strange.
There's campgrounds in there. When they were in the summer, they probably would have people in there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it was. Well, I mean, it was right around the
April.
time when we were having probably fire camp there.
It's supposed to be April 1st. Isn't
What's that?
it supposed to be where you were on April 1st?
That's correct.
You're supposed to live.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually more where you use the most of your time residing. But necessarily where you're on April 1st.
The only one thing that I would, can we assume on that one little nub that we just changed over, that I think there was 9 people in it?
7.
And not the one that was in Hayfork proper, but the one that's
Oh, okay.
there's kind of like
Oh,
a little
yeah,
horn
yeah, yeah.
that sticks out.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's this one right here.
Yep.
Or you-
If, I would just say that if,
we don't
yeah,
have,
that's out Tule Creek Road, and I would, if it doesn't skew the numbers too badly, I would use that, I would put that back into 3.
Is that going out by Bailey's and all that?
What's that?
Is that by Bailey's?
That's farther up Tule Creek than that.
Oh, it's really, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
But it is,
That way.
it's in the CDP, but
All of those are defined by fairly significant roads, so I mean, it's not like.
is this the,
right now, I think we
Yeah.
have almost split up. We just need to figure out a way to split up the last 2 CDPs and we'll have them all split.
would anyone from the board like me to change this block? Would the board like this block changed back from 4 to 3?
Yeah,
Yes.
please.
I think we'll still be okay, but
Well,
there are small cleanups that might move the needle a little bit. Like I think right now, I think District 2 is grabbing 1 or 2 blocks from Junction City that could go to 4, and that would reduce this 3.9% a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
I think This whole process is fun.
You're doing a great job, Jerry.
Thank you.
Yep, very
I
patient.
appreciate the support from the public as well. So we're at 9.9%. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, if there were other blocks along that top of Oregon Mountain to bring out of 4 and into 2, that might be a place to pick up some population that would be more contiguous with.
We just need to find the missing pieces here. Yeah,
So right now,
we just need to clean that up.
Oh, that's the Junction City CDP?
yes.
And those are just missed blocks. No, that's, I guess that is actually part of the plan right there.
Yeah, those are all zeros if I remember right.
They're very small. They're almost zero, but
There's population up in there. And that's all, like, again, on Highway 299 across the top there, and then like Castle Rock Road area.
But is that on the Weirville Basin side or in the Junction City?
It's on the Junction City side,
Did I have any?
except for that one top part.
Did I have some wrap around to Oregon Mountain on mine on 3?
Not now, not in this map.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's all
I think
4.
these are the ones we're talking about is,
Yeah, that dividing line right there is the Oregon Mountain Ridge Road right there. So, I mean, technically, most of the people that are accessing that do get to it from the Weaverville side. Like Rocker Box Road is a little bit further down, but.
do we like, yeah, okay.
So grabbing a couple of those and putting them in for 2 is the suggestion?
No, you would be grabbing them from 2 and putting them in 4.
Well, I mean,
If you were gonna not split that CDP, you would have to put them in
That's correct.
District 4.
So it's-
Because Junction City CDP is that boundary, which you would be losing population from District 2, which is our lowest at this point.
Oh yeah, that's true, actually, we've heard some more.
3 is still at 6%, so. How big are those blocks, Jerry?
The biggest one's 8, I think.
8 and 4, so I think that would move things by,
Less than a percent, like less than.
it'd be 4%.
No.
No,
Not 4.
Not 4%.
Point,
0.4%.
0.4%. Yeah, so if we moved them, then this would probably be like negative 4.3%, and then this would be probably negative 2.8%.
I guess, so, I mean, as far as the CDP is concerned, I think that was sort of a natural break. It's not necessarily, I mean, I lived up there, and I think people that live at the top of the mountain there are gonna associate more with Weaverville than with Junction City. Well, we wouldn't want to go much further down 299 towards JC though, I guess is. And then there's a few we could pick up if you were wanting to get a little bit more into that. I think it wouldn't be very disruptive because they're accessing it from Oregon Street side.
And I do believe it's the case that, as we've identified another, the CDP boundaries don't.
So you don't want to go down to Slattery, anywhere by the Eagle Rock?
I wouldn't go that far down.
I don't either. Is there anything up above there?
No, I mean, the 4 that are right there, including that weird sort of dog leg that's in there, if you were to pick up just those few pieces, the one unfortunately goes way down towards the rock pit. But those 3, I guess, little sliver pieces, what those ones right there, what are those?
This is 0, this is 0, this is 0,
Yeah,
this is 0.
yeah, then it starts to drop too far down
Yeah.
into Junction City then, so I wouldn't mess with those.
Kelly, was there nothing left between 3 and 2 on the south side of, or the If you wrap around.
Between 3 and 2, it was Steiner Flat Road.
Yes.
Unless you went farther down 299 towards Douglas.
Steiner's all access.
Right, I mean, you could, well, yeah.
That's all Douglas City.
You could take Union Hill, but I think that's already in District 1, isn't it?
No, I think you did.
We just moved it into 3.
It's in three. It's always
I mean,
been three, I think.
that little piece right there, you could sneak down in and grab a piece from District 2.
Do we have to, are we good?
That was the piece, Jerry, just to the right of that one.
That's only
It's 0, I think, isn't it?
Hold on, wait to do this. Refresh, there it goes.
This is, this one,
Yeah,
that is 8. I would just say, if I could just say very quickly that I was just trying to highlight the CDPs that this shows are split, but I would say that I've definitely developed an understanding from working with you all that the CDP boundaries do not, align perfectly with how folks in the communities seem to perceive those areas. Those are the lines that are drawn by the Census Bureau for their statistical calculations and populations, grouping of population data. So I think, it's well within your means within this process to leave a CDP split if you think that it makes sense to do that.
It's pretty close.
So maybe the Junction City, I don't know if it's a problem or not, that there's a couple of blocks that are in District 2, or if you don't think that's a problem, then we can leave that the way it is. I was just trying to make sure you can see, at least with the CDP boundaries that we have.
So in that Rocky Point area right there, the green that comes down into District 3, what's that, right in there, that little, how many people you got in there?
So 13, 5, 0, so I guess it's like
and that's, so
8 people total.
sorry. That other piece that's on the other side there that had 8 people in it, that's, the dividing line on that south side of that block is Union Hill Road.
Yeah.
And then it would divide people on one side of the road versus the other side of the road.
So are we all comfortable
Well, we're gonna do that eventually.
with what we got kind of now?
There may be, I don't know what the population of any of the bits and pieces to the north of the area out Tule Creek Road that are more like closer to Hyambum. I don't know if there's any more to gain, or take, I guess, pull out of 3 to put into 4. But if you're looking for a little more balance in 3 to bring 3's numbers down, that might be a place to find more.
Well, you
Would you like to see that area?
out to the right, were we just there?
Yeah,
We were.
We just gave them back.
But I mean, there was 9 that we gave back just in that one spot, but on the north side of Indian Valley Road is what I'm thinking of, like between there and Hyambum Road. Like that one below, right there.
That's a footnote block right there, I recognize that.
This one?
That, starting there, yeah. And then kind of going around the Hayfork CDP to the north of there.
Let me just show us what that looks like.
See that CDP boundary, at least on the western edge of Hayfork, is actually relatively accurate as far as the community is concerned, I think.
Yeah, here's Tule Creek.
Should we keep it?
Well, you can gobble up some of this stuff and leave Tule Creek alone, move more up toward Butter Creek and all that.
That's
And you
right.
can-
So this is, right now, this is the line, this, for example, is between Hayfork and outside of Hayfork, with this being Tule Creek right here.
Both of go into CDP. Whoever draws census blocks is terrible.
And they're better than last time.
So would you want to put those last two? This and this into here to balance numbers better?
Would y'all like me to try any edits there, or are you good?
I'm thinking those western blocks that are outside the CDP. I don't know if there's anything in them though.
These two, the
17 people on this one.
Right, so that's Friend Mountain.
Yeah, that's right.
And then-
Still go with that one, if you want to.
I
Yeah,
picture-
those are technically considered outside of the Hayfork CDP.
I would, yeah, that one would be,
Yeah, we'd be moving, this is the one that has 17.
Yep.
I don't know.
I'd like to see you take the 17 and stick them in 4.
Okay, let's try it. We can always move it
If
back.
it's not messing with
it won't.
this, I just, 9.9, I don't know, let's see.
That'll be
Heck,
fine.
there.
And I would say, the pieces that are outside the CDP north of there too, all the way up to High Palm Road. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of population, but it would make sense to do that.
I don't think there's anybody up there, though, is there?
There's a couple up along the road, I think. High Palm Road.
Where's High Palm Road on here?
It's that sort of major road to the north of where you're, that's that right there.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. It's-
See, there's that massive block. Yeah, that area, that's what I'm talking
Okay.
about.
Right.
I don't think.
So that would be like,
Everything outside the CDP to the west.
yeah. I think that would be this,
Those, yes,
this, and this.
correct.
Maybe this one too, is that?
Yes.
Okay.
One person.
One person.
Yeah. Would the board like those, should I move these as well to 4?
Then you get one person on it.
Hello.
Shall I move these from 3 to 4 then?
Yes,
Yeah, you
please.
can gain a whole person. One whole person. Still.
There's one other little sliver in there too.
Oh, gosh. I'll get it.
District 4 might be the biggest district now from
It's going to be.
Mass.
It's going to be.
Is it that one right there?
Yeah. That's the one.
Whoops. Let's get you. All right. That'll change just because when there's any blocks that are unassigned, it throws that number way out of whack because it counts that as its own district.
Okay.
So now we're at 9.3%.
All right. Kelly?
And you saw some questions, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we're leaving Junction City the way that it is, right?
Are you guys cool splitting that CDP?
Aye.
I think it makes sense.
Okay. I just want to make sure we look at,
And that's Jeremy?
it makes sense for Mad River. I know Kelvin put a bit of thought. Oh, it's a block.
It's not split anymore, is it?
It seems to be, I think there's a block that's, maybe it's this.
Oh, there's a,
But that's part of the stair step, I think. And there's look there.
That's just part of the stair step.
I don't think that affects the community much because that's all national forest land.
Yeah, I think it's the case with the Ruth one too, but I just want us to make sure and check if that's okay.
Kelly, when you split that CDP,
Stairs.
does that wreak havoc with your legal descriptions?
Splitting the
No.
CDP? No.
that gives Jeremy the cell tower, I'm good with that.
So how does
It's not a problem for the legal
Jeremy feel about all
description.
this?
Yeah, we'll find out Wednesday.
You did District 4, the second one.
All right.
Since these are all part of township section and range, I think it works just fine.
I think a lot of this stuff just doesn't really make sense.
Let's just go with it.
And we already know how we will split. So if I could just, if you'll favor me, I was looking at the boundaries and the Trinity Alps, and I just want to make sure that those makes sense fully, if that's okay, before we finalize things.
So is that,
And also if I can get a guidance.
Southport Mountain, is that-
In the Trinity Alps, I have some questions that perhaps, because we have to turn around the legal descriptions
That's the-
pretty quickly.
that's the-
So I'm wondering if
Southport Mountain.
either Mr. Forsland or Mr. Sheen have any tips on how to describe the boundaries up there, and I'll show you what I'm talking
thinking
about.
about the PUD and the hospital district?
Breaking down on the
I
river.
thought it was river, right? Well, maybe not.
No, the river's
Yeah.
much further down.
Okay, all right.
That's at the top, by and large at the top of the ridge, is where that's.
So right now, with this map that we're working with, a lot of the lines up here, up north of Monument Peak, are following, I'm not sure exactly what they're following, but I know that this line that I'm tracing here is consistently, or it's a set of ridge lines in the Trinity Alps, and on Kelly, on Mr. Sheen's prior submission, I feel like I sound like a teacher or something here.
On my recent one, that breakdown is, yeah, that's a watershed boundary, but it's, again, it's, that is
This is
a
watershed boundary.
Those are, the more unnatural one is basically the Junction City Fire Protection District boundary, and it follows a lot of section corners.
Yes.
So again, we have a legal description for that, and it would just be cleanest to use that boundary since.
The one between the Big Bar and the Mount Shasta
Yes,
that we're seeing right here.
correct.
So right
So
now,
Mirror, Emerald, and Sapphire would move into District 1.
Yes, correct.
That is one of the key requests that I had.
Do you need more,
So that means every drop of water that goes into Trinity Lake will
Yes.
come from
right
District 1.
now,
That's
with
correct.
the final scenario we're working on right now, if I understood Kelly correctly, these are the lines that follow a district boundary, these nicer, straighter lines, and I know that, and that's so, are those the watershed boundary lines, or are the mountain is?
The ridges are the watershed boundaries, so there's a little bit of basically Canyon Creek that's flowing from one technically into, it's just south and to the east of where you're at right there. See that? Yeah, that's the ridge line for the, and the Trinity River watershed technically. I mean, like the
So
upper
my-
Trinity.
So my question is, for the board, is whether whether you want to mix and match or consistently use the mountain ridge, or if you want to use the straight lines.
The ridges aren't really useful for doing legal descriptions.
That's what I was concerned about.
Yeah, that's fine.
let's make it one.
So,
Probably won't be
So
more
you're-
than 3/6 up there, I would imagine.
And can you,
Just
so if you'll just humor me a little bit
very hard to do.
longer,
for sure.
oops, I'm not trying to zoom in there.
Because it gives me a little bit.
I don't usually do legal descriptions, but I just want to make sure that since our folks that are be working on it have to turn it around pretty quickly, is like these lines that kind of cut through the township section range squares in sort of like odd ways. Do you know if those follow like parcel boundaries, Kelly, or like how this line
There's
described?
section corners.
Section corners, okay.
Yeah,
So even like right here, it says section corner.
that's right.
Okay.
There's no parcels there, look, right?
The parcels, they're no private parcels. I mean, the sections themselves are considered parcels, but they're not really, that area is unsurveyed, and in the Alps, they're not really anything to take into consideration. It's really just the section lines. So when you're using corners to delineate, you know, like the northwest corner of section 8, you know, township range, blah, 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 and then you go down to another corner, you can cut diagonals that way.
Okay.
Right, Darryl?
Well, you mean across this way? You could do that up there.
Yeah.
Not where there's anybody living. But
Right. I don't think it doesn't separate. I mean, again, we have legal descriptions for those, for that special district boundaries too, so
Is there any way,
to use as like a basis.
if it's possible for, if you happen to know where those legal descriptions live, if there's any way to pass that to me through, through Susie or Richard, that would be very helpful. I just want to make sure we get that. This was the area that I was a little bit concerned about. I just want to make sure we get that right.
LAFCO should have all those.
Yes. Yeah, we have it through LAFCO.
Okay. Great. I'll work on getting that. Is there anything else that y'all would like to
Can we
look at?
take a look at Post Mountain one
I was
last
just
time?
gonna say that, let's jump back to Post Mountain.
Sure.
Because the request was to stay out of District 4, but
That's the only way we can split it for 4.
So those pink parcels, I mean, those pink blocks that were part of 4 within the Post Mountain CDP there constitute something like close to 700
That's correct.
people, which is really pretty difficult to
move
around.
Yeah, this is 43, well, yeah, we can see that the summary numbers are, 714 are in District 4, and then the remaining 23, 25 are in District 5.
So what's that straight line?
The straight weird zigzag line is the gas utility line,
Is that,
which it does, which we can't really utilize for a legal description either, because it's just, there's no, you know, it doesn't tie to anything, sections or anything.
That would be a very nice section to be able to get, our census block to be able to give to District 4 though, because it then, you take 77 from District 5 and you add that 77 to District 4 and we're down to 6% with that one block right there.
What's the lower one? What's that one?
This is 77, and this
Okay,
is,
so that one's 35, so that one wouldn't get us quite as close, but
The bottom boundary of that particular block is the Highway 36.
and if we took both of those blocks and put them in District 4, that would put District 4 a little high and District 5 like 4 or 6 under, and we would be really close percentage.
although actually this is hard for me to keep track of in my head, honestly, but I don't think it actually wouldn't move the needle on the 9.3% because we have to look at the one that is minus the most and the one that is over the most. So unless something changed with districts 2 and 3, in that case, we'd only be shuffling things. I think the shuffling between 4 and 5 wouldn't move the needle at all.
So we need to go, if we want to get closer, we need to go to 3 and 2 again.
It would still make things more, it would make things more balanced overall. It wouldn't affect this number, but it would still make 4 and 5 more balanced with each other. But if we want to move this number, we'd have to change something probably with 2 or 3.
And you know, while you could do that, it would also sort of, it would take more of the population of Post Mountain and then give it to 4, which I think, like I said, we were trying to minimize that disruption.
In my map, I was trying to keep as much as possible in District 5 also.
Do you know what the percentage kind of is right now? The gentleman that was here that obviously has an interest in the fire and the
2080?
It is,
was asking for a 90-10.
Yeah, he's asking for a 90-10, but again, with the 714 that are there, what was the other number? It was probably gonna be like.
It's 20, 23, 25.
So it's more.
80-20-ish?
Yeah, he can run the number there real quick.
Okay.
So there's 3,039 total.
There's 7, so it's 30.
That's a little over 20%.
Yes, 23.5%.
Well, that's reasonable. I mean, Weirville.
Weaverville's being split, Junction City's being split, Douglas City's being split. I don't think we're going out of our way to pick on Post Mountain.
I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, what are you gonna do?
Even Ruth and Matt River have 2 bites out of it, but they don't.
Well, there's too many parameters to balance, you can really do.
There's a lot of parameters to balance.
Are we all in?
Can we just take one last look and see if there's anything we can do between 2 and 3? I think
Yep.
we've sort of explored it all.
I think that,
The only, like I said before, one of the things, it wouldn't necessarily be pulling out of 3, but, if there was a desire to bring, Little Browns Creek obviously has, I think, something like 50 or 60 people in it, but it would come from one.
that wouldn't help us, really.
The other option would just be to give all of the Union Hill area to Weaverville.
That's what I was thinking.
Both sides of the road.
One section.
Whoever the supervisor is for District 3, that's Union Hill.
That's fine then.
Right.
Because that top block is only 8 people, but it would have to, the problem would be that it was the other side of Union Hill is then starting to encroach on Steel Bridge and all, and along the river corridor and everything, so that.
People on both sides of that block, nobody in the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's okay, as far as, are we all good enough? District 1?
I think this is at least a good map to save. The other thing is we've got public comment a couple of times that we need to not split up Post Mountain. And I just would like to, if you guys are willing, take a minute and see what that does to the rest of the county. One of these other maps, see what it does to the other districts if we leave Post Mountain in its entirety. And I think we had a draft map that came in yesterday. So I wanted, let's explore that. Let's look at what it does to the other districts to keep Post Mountain whole.
Let's do it.
You hit save, right, Jerry?
Yes.
Tomorrow.
I'm really paranoid, so I just want to make sure that even if I open this, so please, yeah, bear with me here. I can have this moving a little bit at a time and it won't affect each other, but this should be, as long as this opens, okay, yeah, that's the last area we zoomed in on, the 9.3%. So yeah, I've got it, I had a little note here that where I'm saving the share links as well, so we should be good. Let's go ahead then and look at Mr. Hamilton's submission from yesterday, which is this one. So we can look at that in here. While that's loading, I'll just show us kind of broader picture. This is the, well, let's see here. This is what District 1 looks like in that case, so it's taking part of Douglas City, and then it's kind of coming down a little bit further south than, I believe, no. So,
That's in Mr. Hamilton's map we're looking at?
yes,
Okay.
and then this is what his District 2 looks like. District 3 is just kind of like all of this, and I believe Hayfork is fully within District 3 in this case, and then
That's part of 4.
No.
No, it can't be, not have those numbers.
Yeah.
He splits Hayfork right now.
It's got,
Okay, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've had too many different numbers I've thought about, but let's just.
Down to Highway 3.
Let's,
yeah, I mean, the thing to think about is that if the CDP for Post Mountain alone is 3,014 people, you know, it becomes its own district.
Yes.
that's basically, yeah, so I'm sorry, yes, Hayfork, Supervisor Bruce was correct. So Hayfork here is split about 1,500 in District 3, and then about 775 in District 4. And then Post Mountain is fully within District 5, and that's why the area for, it's kind of, it has Post Mountain, the CDP, and then a little bit of the surrounding area. I'm not sure exactly where High and Palm Road is there, but obviously District 5 is just a lot smaller. And I believe in this case, I believe Ruth and Mad River.
They would both be in District 3.
Yeah.
District 3, yeah.
Well, it splits Weirville too, right?
Can we go up and look at the top end of District 3 in this scenario? It looks like it runs all the way to Weaverville.
It goes up.
Well, it used to anyway,
So
It splits Weirville now.
It does come into Weaverville. It takes the lesser populated areas, but there's some population, like 73 in this block, 22 here, 0, and then some of this.
Well, my District 3 has the right amount of people in it. That's how big of an area you have to cover to get that many people.
Right.
the concern I have with that is just the sheer distance from Weaverville to Mina.
I agree.
That's a 5-hour drive. Richard did that drive once this year. It's impossible to cover that for one supervisor. It doesn't work. So unless you can figure out a way to divide that amongst the others, I really don't think that there's a feasible way to make districts, contiguous districts, without splitting Post Mountain along and Weaverville.
Then you crossed every social, you got people in wherever going to school in Douglas City, or maybe Louisville, and they live in.
Well, it wouldn't change the school district boundaries,
No,
but it
I
would be.
mean, if there's anybody in, I guess, the southern part of this map consider themselves.
The people in the far southern end of that map consider themselves Mendocino County or Humboldt County.
Oh,
No doubt.
I agree with that one.
There's one other, just to give you a visual of what another option would look like of having Post Mountain not be split, and I don't believe we liked this. We looked at it in the past, but it was our draft map. There become some serious trade-offs, I think, when we attempt to do it. So this may not be, well, this is certainly different from Mr. Hamilton's map, but this is another scenario that is that's relatively population balanced, but this has District 4 taking part of Weaverville. Weaverville's kind of has a very odd configuration as far as what's part of District 2, and then Hayfork is fully within 3, but then Douglas City is fully within 1, and I think that I think we haven't liked that as much from the standpoint of, the thought process being that Douglas City doesn't match up as well. Obviously, we're putting some of it in District 1, but putting all of it in District 1 we didn't think made sense. So there's a lot of, and then this also splits Madville and separate districts. So it's just another example where there's a lot of serious trade-offs to try and keep it all in line.
That would split the Southern Trinity Volunteer Fire Department into 2 different districts right down the middle also.
So we did, because we did hear so much, we did hear from several folks through online public comments and through public testimony, even before the gentleman today, that there was interest in trying to keep CDPs together if possible. Technically, yes, numbers-wise, we can keep Post Mountain together, because Weaverville's like almost 3,700 people, so that's too much to keep in one. Post Mountain at 3,039, it could be kept in one, but it has a lot of cascading effects on the other districts and other things that I think we've been trying to consider. So that's why, if I understand correctly, why we did present draft map B that I just showed, and there's just a lot of, becomes very difficult to try to keep Post Mountain all in one district. So that's this, and what I just showed are they're options where things are population balanced, but this is what they look like.
I think there's a misthought about having one supervisor versus having two represent
You actually have
a
more power on the
community.
board.
You have more power because you have the ear, or if you have one supervisor that's not listening to you, then you have the other supervisor that usually does. So there's many times that I've had constituents from different districts call me that I border and wanting help, and you help them out. So having two is probably a more positive thing than it is negative.
I think you also have to look at how many disruptions you make. This one is highly disruptive of what currently is in place, and that in combination with communities of interest, how they have been moved and split, just seems
The only one you're talking about is District 3.
change at a time. I think District 1 as well, really.
Not really, because majority of that stuff on the south has nobody living there. The only reason I put it in there is because I didn't want District 3 to be that big. You know?
Well, it takes in Wildwood.
They used to,
Probably
Well,
takes in Deer Lake Springs, it looks like.
Reading.
Reading. Which, I mean, it's a
shot in the dark.
I played with this map tool a lot too, and it's extremely difficult to come up with something that works. I know that my map, I just didn't realize I still had Post Mountain split three ways. I didn't want to do that. I think there was one census block in District 3, and then it's difficult to go back and look at the CDPs and the map tool and try to keep everything straight. So it's easy to make a mistake also.
It is. Yeah, that was the one that was in 3. I think it has a population of about 40 folks.
So, are we going to instruct Jerry to check out, clean up this map that we just kind of made today and present it to us on the 18th? 9th? Yeah, not the 18th, that's 3 days after due date, on the 9th, so.
Yeah, there'll be no action taken today, but what we asked is the board give direction to staff and to the consultant to clean up the map. They seem to have consensus, and bring that back on the 9th to introduce and waive the reading of the ordinance and enact on the 21st.
Okay, Jerry, the one thing I would, if it's an issue, I don't think it's that important, but that one little corner that goes into the Ruth district, the more I think about it, the more it could be an issue, because that is the cell phone tower. And that is the only communication for the people in Ruth. And I don't know that they would want that to be in the district of another supervisor from 299 corridor. That little piece right there could be a concern. If it's going to be a major issue for legal descriptions and stuff, I'm sure we can work around it. But basically the only communication for the entire town of Ruth and part of Mad River is right there.
It's a problem from a legal description standpoint.
Yeah, I'm thinking those lines, that's probably, I don't know if that would be that's not the PUD, I wouldn't think.
No.
That would be, I'm not sure what that line would be. I don't think there's any population in there, that's all Six Rivers National Forest, or no, Shasta T on one side and Six Rivers on the other, so. You could, even in that piece right there, you could use the separation line could be Six Rivers and Shasta T National Forest. I don't know how you do that, but.
You could just use South Fork Mountain Road.
Which would work.
The road itself,
yeah,
could be used.
Is that right there?
Yes.
This is South Fork Mountain Road right here. Oh, up here.
No, that's right there where it says Picket Peak, that little road right there.
Oh, I see, okay. Just okay. Oh, I think we're not supposed to split the census blocks. And this is
yeah. All right, well, like I said, if it's that big of an issue, it's probably not a major concern, but
I thought it was separate.
I don't.
It was a little triangle there.
That was just because we were showing the CDP.
Yeah. As long as we would know how to describe it, it's not a problem, but I'm not sure. I wish that this was drawn to Picket Peak, but right now it's not, so we'd have to somehow describe this line right here, whereas the straight lines are, I think, easier.
So is that a census block that goes to Horse Ridge Lookout Road?
Yes.
That would be a place to split to, I think, if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to do that because even if that little corner, the actual, if you look at the quads that you were showing earlier,
The cell phone
tower location isn't even in that little triangular block.
Yeah, you'd have to go to Horse Mountain Lookout Road.
So yeah, we could put both of these two, move them from 4 to 5. That's what you'd like.
That would be fine with me. I don't think, like I said, it's not that major of a change, but I think it would be beneficial in the long run.
Is there a consensus from the board?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Adding these to District 5. My brain gets a little.
Or District 6.
Yeah.
You already have them in District 6. That was unassigned.
Yeah.
Maybe San Francisco have 9.
So obviously, that did move the needle on the numbers.
So
you just, if Kelly and Darrow are still around, if they could just tell me one more time what the name of the district maps I should try to find legal descriptions for are here.
For that section, it would be the Junction City Fire Protection District.
And it's my understanding, Dr. Kuhn, am I correct that we need to have the legal descriptions, those do have to be prepared before Thursday morning. I think I talked to Susie about trying to get those to her like the end of the day tomorrow so that she can include those in the backup for Thursday.
Yes, that's correct.
No sleep for Susie.
I'll make sure our folks get on that then. Okay.
all right, do you have any other questions for us?
I don't believe so. I think we cleaned up everything here, so this should be, I'm not going to make any edits to this map. This will be map that we proceed with. So I don't think I have any other questions right now.
Okay, as long as you don't happen to find some little piece stuck somewhere that it shouldn't be, I think that we're okay with this map.
Perfect.
So they're preparing the legal descriptions?
What's that?
Sounds like,
You,
you guys are preparing the legal descriptions, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, we'll have those available in the board packet for Thursday.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Emma's learning, that's the goal.
We will do our absolute best job to have those. I told Susie that we would try to get those to her by 5 p.m. tomorrow on Tuesday. It's possible that it could take us longer, but we will absolute best to turn them around quickly.
all righty, sir, well, thank you, and I think with that, we can adjourn our workshop, and we'll see everybody back here in a couple days.
Sorry, I sent Emma what I took as direction from the board, just want to make sure that we're good. Okay.
All right.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. See you in a couple days.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
I'm hoping you enjoyed your rest tomorrow.
Oh, this is what I do for being gone.